Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's a girl OJB Fashion Style. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with us how I made this beautiful A-line dress with puff sleeve and a net yoke. So the one on my right is my inspiration. If this is something you're interested in, stick around and let's get started. So to start my tutorial, I'm going to be needing 3 yards of my African print fabric, and then also this piece of stoned lace is what I'll be using to make my yoke. So for this, the following measurement is what we're going to be needing to be able to draft our pattern for our A-line dress tutorial on our fabric. So first, I went ahead to cut out a 1¼ yard of fabric for the front part of our A-line dress. And at the very top there is our starting line, which is what I'm taking now. So from the starting line to my bust point is 11 inches, okay? So from the starting line to my hip measurement is 25 inches. So that is the point I'm taking now. So I'll simply be connecting all my points with my straight rule. So this is the bust line measurement, okay, which I'm connecting with my straight rule, and next to it is our hip line measurement, okay. So this is my hip line measurement, and after that I'll be taking the full length of my A shape, okay. I'm going to be connecting it from the starting line. And so from the starting line to the full length of our A shape is 33 inches, okay. So this measurement is where our A shape ends, and then we'll be adding our pleats to it of 6 inches. So at the starting line, I'm simply going to be taking my shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is 16 inches divided by 2. It gave me 8. And then connecting it to my bust line. So from this point, we're going to be drafting our armhole. But before taking our armhole measurement, we'll be going above the bust line by 2 inches. Okay, so I'm simply making a point there, and I'll be connecting it with my straight rule. So now that's our chest line. So first we have the starting line, the chest line, the bust line, the hip line, and then the full length of the A shape. So next is going to be our neckline pattern, and for this is a simple round neck pattern. For the front is 3 inches into 3 inches, okay. So I'll simply be connecting both points now with my curve rule, okay, as you see me do now. So next to that, I would be taking my shoulder slope of 1 inch. So I'll just go ahead and draw a straight line across to get my shoulder slope. So that's been done. Next, I'm going to be drafting my armhole measurement. So for that, on my chest line, I'm taking my bust circumference, which is 40 inches divided by 4. It gave me 10. Then I added an extra 2-inch seam allowance to it. Okay, so from the shoulder slope to the chest line point, I'm going to try to get the middle there, and then I'll make a point there, and then I would go in by half of an inch, as this will enable me draft my curve for my armhole. So what I'll simply be doing now with my curve rule is to connect all points together. So to take my A-shape measurement on the side, I'm going to be taking my hip circumference measurement, which is 42 divided by 4, to give me 11. Okay, so that's the indication you see me taking on my hip line. So I initially added an extra 4 inches to it, but I wanted the A shape to be very wide, so I added 2 extra inch allowance to it. Okay, so I'll be connecting the point on the chest line to the point on the hip line, okay, with a straight rule. Now we are done drafting our pattern for the front of our A-line dress. So I'll be setting this aside, and then I'll be folding the fabric that will be used for drafting our back pattern. Please note that the front fabric is a one-piece fabric in a fold, while the one for the back is a two-piece fabric. So I'm simply placing the front fabric on the fabric for the back, and then you can see the space I left out for my zipper allowance. Now I'll go ahead and make adjustments on the neck pattern. The front pattern is 3 inches into 3 inches. So for the back, it is going to be 3 inches into 2 inches. I will be drawing this pattern out, and then I'll be cutting the pattern for the back first. Then for the front, I will be removing both fabrics, separating them apart, and adjusting the neck pattern. Okay, so after that, I'll just go ahead and cut it out. Now we're done drafting our pattern for the front and the back of our A-line dress. So next, I'm going to be taking my yoke measurement at the front pattern. So for this, from the shoulder slope, you see me going in by 6 inches. So I'll be connecting that point with my straight rule, and then I'll cut it out and use it to draft my pattern for our yoke, which I'll be using my stoned lace. While cutting out your pattern for the yoke, ensure you leave out a seam allowance at the base of half of an inch, which you see me indicating with my finger there. Placing my yoke on my front fabric, okay, with the right sides facing each other. I'll go ahead now and run my stitches. For the neckline, turning my fabric to the wrong sides, I'm going to be stitching this piece of fabric around the round neckline, and then I'll just flip it over to the other side. Okay, so now you can see that I've stitched it on the wrong side first. Now on the right side, I'll make a fold inward twice, and then I'll go to the sewing machine and stitch around it as well. So now we're done with the front neckline pattern. We'll be setting it aside to work on our back neckline. Putting both fabric for the back together, I'm going to be placing it on top of another fabric, okay? The reason is because I want to get the neckline pattern on this other fabric. So I'll be able to cut out a little piece of fabric that I'll be using to fold in my neckline. So I'm simply trimming it out now. So this is all the fabric that I'll be needing for my neckline pattern. So first thing I'm going to be doing now is to make a stitch around the edges of this fabric first before attaching it on my neckline the way you see me place it on it. So I'm simply making a fold in, and then I'll go over to the sewing machine to stitch around that fold. So now, with the right sides facing each other, I'm going to be placing this piece of fabric on the neckline, and then I'll go over to the sewing machine and stitch it on it. After I was done stitching, you can see me making notches around the neckline area so that when I flip it inward, it will sit properly and it will not be folding. Okay, so next you can see me placing the fabric on top of each other and making my loose stitch around the zipper area. So this is going to be temporary. This I did so I would be attaching the shoulders together with that of the front. Okay, so now I'm simply going to be placing my back fabric on my front fabric, and then I'll be stitching both shoulders together. So what I did is, after placing it on top of the front fabric, I'm going to be folding that little piece of fabric on the neckline of the back fabric into the front neckline. Okay, please take note of this. I'm going to fold it towards the front neckline, and then I'll make my stitch around the shoulders there as I'm indicating with my fingers. So I repeated the same process for the other shoulders as well. So next, I'm going to be making pleats around the edges at the base with this piece of fabric that I had cut out. So it's about 3 yards of length and it's 8 inches wide. Okay, so what I'm simply going to be doing now is making little pleats. Okay, so I didn't want mine to be very wide because I like my pleats very full. So this I did on the front and also the back. So this is what my A-line dress is looking like with pleats. I tell you, this was a game changer. It's looking really beautiful. So I'll be setting this aside now to work on my sleeve pattern. So for this, I'd cut out a fabric of about 40 inches length and 11 inches wide. It is actually this long because it's a puff sleeve, so would need to make gathers at the top of the sleeve, which is the shoulders. So what I'm simply doing now is to draw my cuffs. You could use your free hand. So I'll go ahead and cut it out and then make gathers at the top there. So first I ran a loose stitch around the cuff areas. So I'll be pulling that out with my hand. Please ensure that you're very careful so the thread does not cut in the process. You could also use your thread and needle. So this is what it is looking like right now. So I would also be repeating the same process for the other edge. Okay, so this time I'm using my thread and needle, and I'm also going to be doing the same thing to the other sleeve. So now I'm done making gathers at both edges. So please take note of the side which is not going to be on the shoulder. So that is around your bicep. So I'm making a band there with this piece of fabric that I'd cut out. So I'll simply spread it out and place the band on top of it, the wrong sides facing each other. Please, the wrong sides facing each other. Okay, so I'll put that on the wrong sides facing each other and then run a stitch on it as I'm indicating with my fingers. So next, I'm going to be flipping it over to the other side. You can see I've spread it out. So it is now the right sides, okay? So I'll just fold it in twice. So this is the first fold, and then I'll fold in the second time on top of the actual fabric now, which is where the gathers are, and then run my top stitch. So guys, I'm done and this is what it is looking like. So ensure you take the measurement of your bicep circumference to be able to know how fitted you're going to be holding it together after attaching your sleeve to your A-line dress. Okay, so guys, I went ahead to spread out my A-line dress and I'm going to be attaching my sleeve on the armhole area. So as you can see, the armhole area is a bit longer than the sleeve. So please ensure to make a notch around the middle of the sleeve first before attaching it to the armhole. So I repeated this for the other sleeve. And after that, I went ahead to stitch both sides of my A-line dress, folding around the edges of the pleats as well. So the last and final thing would simply be to open up the back a little and then put my zipper. So guys, that's basically it for the making of my A-line dress. I hope you enjoy the video. I'll be seeing you on the next one.